Hmm. Jason's arms are smaller on that boat. Huh. So if you put the two screenshots next to each other, on the left, shirtless Jason from the trailer 2 footage, and he's got his traps popping, his arms are jacked, and he looks like a gym rat. And on the right, we've got the new Squallow screenshot from the June drop. Same Jason, but with less muscle definition in the arms and shoulders. He's starting to look like my scrawny physique. But this isn't some sort of lighting trick. It seems to be a change that's pretty blatant. So, based on these screenshots, the internet popped off. Half the people think it's a downgrade. The other half think it's proof that the San Andreas gym system is back after 22 years. That somehow it's a clue that Jason's body changes are based on what you do in the game. I'm not here to throw cold water on either side. Honestly, I think the more interesting question is the one that nobody's actually asking. What would Rockstar have to build for a dynamic fitness system to actually work in a game as detailed as GTA 6? Because changing a character's body isn't just moving a slider from skinny to muscular, it sets off a whole chain reaction throughout the whole studio. And that's where Rockstar starts separating itself from most studios. If you tune in to my one man show on a regular basis, you know my creds. For the first time viewers, the card's up top if you want to check out my resume. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, let's establish that this Jim Bro theory didn't just start last month. It actually goes back 4 years. That's when the 2022 leak happened, where one hacker breached Rockstar's Slack and dumped about 90 development clips to the internet. And diehards noticed something across from all those leaked videos. Jason's body looked different from scene to scene. In some clips, he looked like a musclehead and he was all athletic. In others, not so much. And it wasn't just Jason. Lucia also appeared skinnier in at least one clip. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Early development builds are full of placeholder assets, you got experimental character models, and unfinished systems. Characters can change dozens of times before a game ships. But then Trailer 2 dropped like a bomb in May of 2025. And we have a clip of Jason bench pressing at the beach, and two ladies are marveling at his manliness. But Rockstar is incredibly deliberate with its trailers. Every shot is in there because they want you to see it. Then last month, screenshots came out for the pre order, and Reddit went to work. User Lickety Split 4 posted the side by side shot we just looked at, and it went viral. Brawny Jason versus not so brawny Jason on a boat. Another user named Synthetic Generation pointed out the footage of Jason pumping iron on the beach as corroborating evidence. Gaming sites picked it up and ran with it almost immediately. Suddenly, the headlines became, "Is bodybuilding back in GTA?" Okay. We need to take a step back from all the hullabaloo. Rockstar has confirmed none of this. The website GTA6explain.com tracks this stuff pretty dang closely. And they say, and I'm quoting them here, Rockstar Games has not confirmed any body weight, muscle building, or fitness progression systems for GTA 6. Everything currently remains speculation. So let's go ahead and take a look at this as a feature that we have on our wish list. As a producer, the question I'd ask isn't, do hardcore GTA fans want this? It seems like they do. The real question is, what does it actually cost to build this feature at the level of detail that GTA 6 is targeting? Because the answer to that question tells you whether it's realistic or not. And when I walk you through my thought process, and it's a mess up there, you'll understand why Rockstar dropped this feature after San Andreas, and why bringing it back is actually a much bigger task than people think. Okay, let's do a flashback diddle-doo, 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 and recap what San Andreas actually did. Because it's been over 2 decades and people may only remember the fantasy version and not the realistic version. CJ had a system that gave his body stats. You get pumped up at the gym. According to the people who clock these things, it took 14 seconds on a treadmill and it added about 1% of muscle. If you ate at Cluck and Bell or Burger Shot, that added fat to poor CJ. Eating too much junk food, and CJ got slow, couldn't climb obstacles, and NPCs commented on his weight. Ugh, nasty. If you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and hitting the gym and maxing out the muscle, then he hit harder in fistfights. And his girlfriends had their own preferences. Some like skinny CJ, some like muscular CJ. And yes, there was one girlfriend who liked fat CJ. So that's for all the diehards who want to go out and remember or look it up. When that came out, it was an incredible gameplay feature for the early 2000s. CJ's model was only a few thousand polygons and he was pretty basic. His body change was essentially swapping between three mesh variations that were preset. So you had a skinny version, a muscular version, and a fat version, and all the blends in between. His clothing was relatively simple geometry that really didn't need to adjust to his body shape changes. The cinematic cutscenes used the same low poly in game models, and nobody was zooming in on these screenshots and expecting them to be in 4K. Maintaining that level of detail was totally manageable. A small team could build and maintain that system without much help. So let's go and talk about a more recent version and where this system is in Red Dead Redemption 2, because everybody points at that system that's already in the game. Based on his eating habits, Arthur Morgan's weight changed, and you can see the results in game. The system was on a pretty simple scale. It ran from 0 to 20. If you let Arthur eat too much, he got heavier, which means he had more health, but he had less stamina. If he didn't eat a lot, he got skinny with less health and more stamina. Most people didn't realize this, but the system was pretty limited. There were only three distinct models for Arthur's face: thin, average, and fat. The changes to Arthur's body were pretty subtle and were mostly visible in the face and the belly. So the changes in Arthur's weight really didn't happen on the fly. They were only visible after you fast traveled or were done sleeping, which means the changes were during a loading screen. So Red Dead Redemption 2 proves that Rockstar can bring a variant of that feature back, but it shows they kept it in check. It only showed the face, there were only three body variations, the changes were hidden behind a loading screen, and there wasn't any way to build muscle. Also, there was no impact on the clothing. So now that we looked at two past instances of what Rockstar has done, let's look at what would need to happen to bring this feature into GTA 6. This is where my game development pipeline experience actually makes a difference, because this is the part that nobody in the YouTube GTA space is actually talking about. Everyone's running around debating whether it's coming back. Nobody's walking through what coming back actually means to include this feature in GTA 6. And at GTA 6's high visual bar, this dynamic bodybuilding system isn't the responsibility of just the character artist. This type of feature needs help from lots of people in the studio to make it work. It's a chain reaction that moves through the entire studio. So let me walk you through what I see being impacted. The biggest impact is on the technical art department. So we're going to list out 5 problems of this feature. Problem number 1 is character art. You're not swapping between 3 preset meshes anymore. At this level of detail in GTA 6, Jason's body has to change smoothly: arms, shoulders, chest, everything, at any point between skinny and jacked. And there's only 2 ways I know of to pull that off. One is a morph target system. Think of it as save body types, and the game blends between a slider. Push it one way, and Jason gets leaner. Push it the other way, he's going to bulk up. The other is a bone-driven rig, a virtual skeleton where the muscle around each bone bulges or shrinks in real time. So, like, bigger the bicep bone, bigger bicep. Either way, the point is the same. The body reshapes itself instead of swapping models. So, let's move on to problem number 2, the clothing. Physics programmers get the ball passed to them at this point, and they help out the tech art team, because every shirt, jacket, a pair of pants, a watch strap, and every piece of jewelry now has to respond to variable body geometry beneath it. In modern AAA games, cloth simulation is already one of the most expensive systems to get right. So, for everybody out there who doesn't know what cloth simulation is, it's just how cloth moves in the real world. And each frame of cloth deformation, that's when, cloth is wrapped around an object like my arm, requires its own mesh calculation. And the engine has to handle that in real time. Now, add a body that changes shape underneath that cloth. You're not just simulating fabrics anymore. You're simulating fabric physics on a moving target. So the third problem is animation. The animators get hit next because every animation in the game, whether or Lucia is walking, running, driving, shooting at people, sitting down on a park bench, swimming in a grotto, their cutscene performances was authored on a specific body shape. If you change that body shape, their context points shift. Your feet might not plant right, your hands might not grip correctly. I mentioned contact points and the runtime retargeting pattern in the Lucia video. Rockstar clearly has tech for adapting animations across different skeletons, but adapting across different body masses on the same skeleton is an entirely different problem. Also, the animators need to puzzle out, should a bulkier Jason walk and run differently than a skinnier one? That brings us to problem number 4, which are your cutscenes. This is the one that keeps your cinematic directors up at night. GTA 6 definitely has cutscenes, and in every camera angle, every lighting setup, and every framing choice was built around a specific character silhouette. If muscle bound Jason blocks the frame differently than skinny Jason, you need to reshoot the scene. Close ups read differently. The whole visual language of the entire cinematography that was established for the game shifts. Either you need to build the cutscene to accommodate the full range of body types, or you just accept that some combinations are just going to look off. Which brings us to problem number 5, the burden on the test team. And that's everything that needs to be tested by the QA department. They need to test every combination of body type, plus the clothing, animation, cutscenes, lighting conditions. All these are potential bugs. You're going to have clipping and stretching and floating geometry and contact mismatches. So, in a game that you had lower poly models like San Andreas, you'd never notice. But if you did this in a game like GTA 6, a player would screenshot it and it'd be on Reddit within an hour. For those of you who actually played San Andreas back in the day, I want to know, did you actually use the gym system, or did you just hit it once for the mission that required it and you just never went back? Let me know. Tell me in the comments. Let's go back to our regular program, and then we'll look at what we have here after we've added it all up. We've got character art, clothing, animation, cutscenes, QA. All those are changing. It sounds impossible, right? That's a lot of headaches for one feature. But here's what makes me do a double take before saying, nope, ain't gonna do it. Rockstar has been quietly filing patents for the last several years that matched exactly these problems one for one. When I started connecting them to the possible roadblocks to implement this feature, it changed my mind on this. I did a full video on Rockstar's patents a while back, and I've gone ahead and verified each one of these against the actual filings. So let me go ahead and connect the dots. So you remember the character art problem? How you just can't swap between 3 preset body meshes at this level of detail? You need smooth, continuous body shape changes. As I mentioned in a previous video, Rockstar has a patent called pose-based deformation. Instead of pre-building a skinny model and a muscular model and toggling between them like San Andreas did, this system deforms the character body in real time based on what the skeleton is doing. The character's mesh reshapes itself on the fly based on the pose. So that's the answer to the first roadblock. So that leads us to the animation problem, where every punch, every sprint, and every climbing motion was built for just one body shape and now is buggy in a different one. I covered this in the Lucia video. The runtime retargeting pattern is literally designed for this. It takes animations that were built for one body and adapts them on the fly to a different physical body. So if Jason bulks up and his shoulders are wider, the system adjusts how his arms will swing, how his hands will land, how his body occupies space without an animator have to redoing the work by hand for every body type. There's also a movement problem. As I mentioned, should a jacked Jason move like the Hulk, or should a skinny Jason move like Ant-Man? There's a patent called virtual character locomotion that breaks the movement into small building blocks, and the game mixes and matches them in real time. The way it was described in one of my videos was, imagine a character in Red Dead Redemption 2, walking through the rain, carrying a heavy bag on one shoulder with an injured leg all at once, and blending these together without the game having to pick just one animation. Now, swap the heavy bag for 20 extra pounds of muscle, and you can see how this applies. A bulkier Jason doesn't need his own walk cycle animation. The system adjusts the building blocks and spits out the desired animation for the proper character model. So let's step back for a second. I laid out 5 production problems that make a dynamic fitness system extremely hard to build, and Rockstar has filed patents that address 3 of them. That's probably not a coincidence. Patents represent engineering work that game teams have spent time building. As I mentioned before, does having the tech in the can mean they ship the feature? No, that's important. You can build all the tools in the world and decide that the production cost to implement the feature still isn't worth it. But it means the question isn't, can Rockstar do this? The tech exists. The question is whether they chose to implement it in GTA 6. That's a very, very different question than the one is internet is bandying about right now about the fitness system. So here's where my producer's spidey sense is tingling on all of this. Now that we've taken a look and walked through all this, could it be real? I'd say the odds are better than I thought when I started researching this video. Rockstar has the tech background. They've shipped simpler versions twice. The gym animations are in trailer 2 and are highlighted. The 2022 leaks show body variation across clips. And the patents they filed lines up with the exact engineering problems that a system like this would need to solve. But even with all that, GTA 6 has such a high visual bar, it means all these tools have to work together. They have to take into account 2 playable characters, hundreds of clothing items, possibly more coming in DLC, thousands of animations and cutscenes. And it all has to look right, or else the internet is going to lose its mind and post every error. Building that just one feature is a commitment that touches several different disciplines like character art, animation, physics, programmers, cinematics, and QA. Those teams could be working on this one system for years. But what if Rockstar pulled it off? Huh. If they did pull it off, it would be one of the most technically ambitious character systems ever shipped in an open world game. And Rockstar would have spent years on a system that most players would notice for about 10 seconds. I've covered a lot of invisible technical battles that you see in games on this channel. The Ferris wheel reflections, the water physics, the runtime retargeting system behind Lucia's animations. If you haven't seen the water physics breakdown, that's a good one to watch because it's a very similar story of Rockstar spending insane engineering resources on something that most players walk through or swim through in about 10 seconds. The card is up top. So if you're digging this type of breakdown, please subscribe. I do videos like this every week. And here's what I want to know from you. Do you actually want the fitness system back? Do you want it badly enough that you'd accept the trade-offs with, potential clipping, cutscene weirdness, the visual jankiness, and the edges in exchange for watching Jason's arms get bigger at the gym? Let me know in the comments. Also, do you want to see an extreme case of what life as fat Jason looks like? A YouTuber named AI Insanity created trailer 2 with AI and made all the characters fat. Let me tell you, in the first few seconds of watching Jason descend from that ladder with a pot belly, it made me laugh out loud. So I included the link to the original video in the comments if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.